We're going to move over to Justin Reckers, who is a certified financial planner and a certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA. So Justin, from the financial end, you get involved in cases that either are in litigation or in a settlement mode, and you have to come in and kind of give them an idea globally of the financial issues. Talk a little bit about what you do.
That's correct, Karen. So I'm a CFP, or Certified Financial Planner, as opposed to a CPA like yourself or Peggy, who was with us earlier. So my entry into cases is different than yours, in that you're often task-oriented, where you're given a task and asked to do it. A lot of the cases that come to me are sent to me by somebody like Sean, who says, I have a client who needs to be educated. You know, oftentimes it's the wife. That's the cliche still at this point, that husband's responsible for managing the family money. So the wife is kind of out of the loop. She needs to get the playing field leveled. So she comes to me, I sit down with her, and I talk through with her, what do you know about your finances? And if she has some missing data or some missing understanding because of lack of experience, I can then go to Sean or any other attorney and ask them to pull together some documentation for us so that I can help to produce a financial report to go through with that client. So I'm starting from a perspective of, let's get the education piece done up front to better prepare a client to settle outside of court and be able to negotiate. Because if there's an imbalance of information, there's an imbalance of power. Financial information really is power in this process. So.
Definitely. So when you get, when you sit down with, let's say what I use the term out spouse because that's kind of what
the professional term.
The
Yes.
professional term
Right.
that you'll hear is out spouse. They're out of the business, and you're working through various settlement scenarios that says it may be this or it may be that. What are you kind of going through with mostly her, but it could be a him, in terms of what you're going to get now and what you have in the future?
Yeah, well, a lot of it comes down to, as Sean mentioned before, there's a lot of fear involved in cases at this stage. You go through a divorce, you're literally, for most people, navigating the largest financial transaction of their lives, set amidst complete emotional chaos. It is chaotic for people, realizing they don't know where they're going to live in 5 years. So a lot of times people struggle with being able to see where they're going to be in 5 years. I ask that question of my clients, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they haven't taken the time to sit down and consider it, really, because they're in such fear that all they know is the status quo. They know what it's been like in the past, and so you have to try and coach them through understanding that things will be different, and provide them with different options and strategies. It comes from what I call behavioral finance, or what we call behavioral finance, where it's the intersection of economic theory and psychology, because psychology, or economic theory, I should say, assumes that we all have all available information and absolutely no emotions involved in our financial decisions, which we know is never the case in divorces, because there's tons of emotion and we never have all the information. So I have to be aware of where those two things, psychology and economic theory, intersect, and help a client still make good financial decisions during that time. So I'll help them to gather the right financial information, work with the attorneys to be able to build that picture and remove that bias for the status quo by showing them what other options might look like for their future.
We're talking with Justin Reckers, who is a certified financial planner as well as a CDFA. He is with Wellspring Divorce Advisors. Their website is Wellspring, W-E-L-L, springdivorce.com. So you also do things like Peggy and I do, tracings, and we do analysis of kind of, I have down here a breach of fiduciary duty, which you can explain what that is. And you get a lot of people like we do that are just gung-ho and I want to prove this and this person was wrong, and you also do this global looking at what cost-benefit analysis. Yeah, it's a cost-benefit analysis as well as risk-reward analysis. It's you can see them as the same thing, but you also have to think of, as Sean talked about, BATNA and WATNA. That's kind of the risk-reward scenario. Your reward is the BATNA, your risk is the WATNA, right? So you got to bring all of that into the equation. I do forensic stuff, as you mentioned. I don't do business valuations. That's about the only thing I don't do. And my business is more kind of geared towards working one-on-one with a client and being their advisor during the process too, meaning it's less task-oriented. But from a forensic perspective, as Peggy said earlier, there's a lot of stuff where it comes down to
someone trying to claim that 20 years ago they received an inheritance, which has become completely commingled. And I just got a couple of new cases this week where that's the issue. And they've come to me, both of them are the wives, they've come to me with settlement proposals from their husbands. And in one case, the husband has offered to waive the separate property claim. The other one, he's threatening to pursue it. And both of them are saying, settle with me now, or I will do this kind of thing. It's a threat on the table, or
Sure.
a positional statement, right? So both of these women got sent to me by their lawyers saying, please help her decide whether she should accept this settlement proposal or not. So in that case, I have a very kind of narrow job to do, but I still have to educate myself about the entire financial picture and what the forensic issues might be, so I can coach my client on whether we should be pursuing them, what it might cost, and what the benefit ultimately would be to them in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
You also do collaborative divorce. I am also a trained collaborative professional, as is Peggy, and I'm not sure if Lee is. No. So Peggy,
You should be, Lee.
we'll get Lee more involved in that. So I also
Welcome home, Lee.
welcome home, Lee. So tell me, Sean mentioned what the process is. What does a financial person do in the collaborative process?
Good question. So in the collaborative process, the financial is a neutral, the only neutral on the team. There's also typically a child specialist if there are kids involved, but that person really isn't a neutral. They're there to work on behalf of the kids, for lack of a better term. So I'm the only neutral on the team in a collaborative case, which means I typically end up being the kind of team manager and facilitator of meetings. The process itself looks like data gathering first, meaning I meet with each client, I ask them my kind of discovery questions, I bring in financial documents, prepare a comprehensive financial report, and then that report acts as the basis for all of the negotiations going forward and pretty much the agenda for many of the meetings, the settlement conferences as well. And some of the most rewarding cases and the best work that I've been able to do in my career has been in collaborative cases, whether they were very wealthy people, like hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth, or they simply were higher conflict people that needed to have a better outlet than court. We've had some of the best, most enjoyable and fulfilling cases in my career working in the collaborative model. And it's great for me to be able to work with other professionals like Sean and other attorneys and mental health professionals in the group as well, because it really is a holistic approach. Not good for everybody. If people aren't able to be nice to each other, ain't gonna work. And I've had that happen before too. I've had cases fail in that model because people weren't able to be civil to one another. But if you're gonna be civil and you're willing to be able to be nice to your spouse, share a room with them, and you want the best resources available, collaborative is definitely the best route to go.
Great.
It's great to hear success stories like that. We've heard from Justin Reckers. He's a certified financial planner and certified divorce financial analyst, CDFA. Wellspring Divorce Advisors, his website, wellspringdivorce.com, wellspringdivorce.com.